Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about returns on Amazon. It's something that a lot of beginners are really intimidated by, but I don't think that should be the reason why you don't sell on Amazon. A lot of folks will stick to eBay and StockX, those are great platforms, but they don't have the upside that Amazon does. Okay? And so when we're thinking about getting into Amazon, we need to accept the fact that Amazon is very consumer-centric and that there's going to be a lot of returns because of that. Okay? It's just the reality of the game. We need to just say that is what it is. We'll get better at it over time. I don't think that the fact that Amazon accepts returns would be a reason not to sell on Amazon. Because while you won't know what you don't know when you're starting, you'll get better at it. Okay? It's like anything else. So when we start, we're going to be right here. We're not going to know what we don't know. And we're not going to have higher requirements for products that have a higher return rate because we don't know which products are returned at a higher rate. And then what we can do, once we have some of that knowledge, is we can implement higher requirements for those products that are returned at a high rate, and that will allow us to continue to be profitable. Okay? And then eventually, we'll do a combination of having products that are returned at a high rate but will require a high ROI in order for us to sell them. And then we'll also get products that are not returned at a high rate. Now, let's think about what products are likely to be returned at a high rate. And I like to think about it as products with a lot of dependencies. Okay? And so two examples that I'll bring up would be apparel, and then we'll have electronics. Okay? So if we're thinking about apparel, let's think about a shoe. Okay? So when the customer buys the shoe, it's probably the first time that they're buying the shoe, in all likelihood. And then it has to go through a checklist of steps to ensure that they're satisfied. So they have to look good in it, it has to fit them properly, and they have to be comfortable with it. They have to enjoy walking in the shoe. So if it doesn't hit all three of those, it's probably coming back. Okay? And so we should also be thinking about, from the consumer's perspective, what are they more likely to return? If they're buying a high-end shoe, they have higher expectations of the product. Whereas if they're buying a lower-end shoe, they probably are not going to be as picky. Okay? And then the example of electronics. This product has a lot of dependencies potentially on other products the consumer already has. So if those two don't integrate properly, it's possible it's going to come back. Okay? Now, if we get into products that have a very low return rate, we'll be looking here, implementing some of these. It's just a cleaner business model. Those are probably products that the customer has already bought in the past. They're familiar with it. So think about like a soap. So if you go ahead and you're buying your soap, you've probably bought that soap 4 or 5 times in the past, and you're just replenishing it. So you're already comfortable with the product, and you're just getting it again. So you're probably not even like evaluating the product, you're not seeing if you like it, you're probably just throwing it in your shower and you're moving on with your day. So over time, we're going to know which products we should be implementing those high ROI requirements for, and we'll just bake that in to our buying decisions. Okay? So if it doesn't meet your requirements, just book it in SellerAmp and then come back to it. Maybe there'll be a better sale down the line. And then I touched on this, but what we should be doing is we shouldn't be looking at every single return. Okay? We should be looking at them in an aggregated way so that we can make unemotional decisions about it. If we're letting our emotions run the day, we're not going to get anywhere. So there's really good reports on Inventory Labs that'll give you a SKU level readout of how profitable a certain item is, and that'll give you a really good idea of, do I need to bake in a higher ROI so that I know that I'm profitable? And then we can also look at return reports that Seller Central has, and that can give us an idea of what is being returned and what we need to be planning for in the future. Okay? So one other topic that I want to bring up would be, is the product coming back to us sellable or unsellable? So some products will come back and you can just send them right back out. The customer looked at it, they didn't like it, they sent it back, you have to eat some fees, and then you just send it right back out. Some will come back unsellable. So think about a shoe, the customer walked around in it for 2 weeks, they didn't like it, they sent it back. Amazon allows this. Amazon should be reimbursing you for that product because they're allowing the customer to go ahead and use the product almost as a trial and then send it back, okay? And so we need to be thinking about that when we're getting into a product and we're thinking about our ROI requirements. If it's going to come back unsellable, we need to have a higher ROI. If it's going to come back sellable, you can get away with a little bit of a thinner ROI and still make money. Now, one thing that I've noticed that a lot of new folks kind of struggle with is this behavior that almost seems unique to Amazon, where the customer will get an FBM order, you're fulfilling it, they'll say they never got it, but you have a delivery stamp. So what we want to do there is we want the customer to file an A to Z claim, and then they will be reimbursed, or you will be reimbursed for that product. Amazon will cover it. You bought shipping through Amazon, so they're responsible for offering that service to you, and then both parties walk away. You're not eating that money, okay? But make sure that the customer files that, and then make sure that you go ahead and get that confirmation email that says, this was covered by A to Z, and you don't just totally eat the loss on a product that didn't show up. But just to kind of wrap up what we talked about, we need to be mentally prepared for this. It's going to happen, and we need to, over time, implement techniques that allow us to continue to be profitable while selling items that are going to be highly returned, okay? And then we shouldn't be monitoring every single transaction, but we should be looking at our data in an aggregated way so that we can make informed decisions going forward. And then really we need to be looking through our I call it the return dependency checklist when we're buying a product. If we think that there's going to be dependencies, beef out that ROI requirement and begin to plan for the inevitability that you're going to get returns, okay? Now, if you found value in this video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. It would really help me. I'll continue to make videos about Amazon-related topics, but I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.